You know that feeling when you're drifting off to sleep and your body jerks awake for no reason? Like something pulled you back just before you crossed some invisible line? Most people brush it off as a hypnic jerk, but I've come to believe it's not your body. It's your soul trying to warn you, because sometimes, just beyond the edge of sleep, something is waiting. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here because if I don't tell this out loud, in full, I might forget it was real. And if I forget, I'll stop watching. And if I stop watching, well, that's when she comes. My name is Daniel Reeves. I grew up in a cramped second-floor apartment in Southeast Portland, Oregon, just off Hawthorne Boulevard, in one of those old brick buildings with peeling paint and windows that never quite shut all the way. My mom, Elena, and my dad, Carl, shared the master bedroom. I got the smaller one, tucked at the end of the hall. It had French doors leading to a narrow iron-railed balcony, barely big enough for a potted fern. To most kids, it would have seemed like a neat little nook. To me, it felt like a stage, and I was always being watched from the wings. I wasn't scared of shadows or the dark itself. No, my fear had a presence, a weight. By the time I was 5, I'd already given it a name in my head. The Hush. Not because she was silent, but because everything around her went quiet, like the world held its breath when she was near. I remember lying in bed, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, the distant whoosh of cars on Division Street, and then, suddenly, nothing. Not even the crickets outside. Just a thick, suffocating stillness. And in that stillness, I knew she was there. My parents thought I was just nervous. Kids have big imaginations, my dad would say, tousling my hair like it was all cute and harmless. But it wasn't imagination when I woke up with goosebumps on my arms, even in summer. It wasn't imagination when I'd feel fingers, cold and feather-light, drag slowly down my spine while I pretended to sleep. And it definitely wasn't imagination the night I heard that sound. I was 6. The rain had been falling softly all evening, drumming against the roof like someone tapping impatiently. I'd finally drifted off when it came. A wet, choked cry, like a lamb caught in barbed wire, gargling through broken teeth. It didn't come from the street below. Came from right outside my balcony door. I shot upright, heart slamming against my ribs. The glass pane was fogged, but beyond it, nothing moved. Still, the sound repeated, closer this time. A guttural, bubbling moan that made my stomach clench. I ran to my parents' room, sobbing, pulling at my mom's arm until she sat up. She checked the balcony. Nothing. Just damp air and the dripping gutter. She stayed with me that night, stroking my hair until I fell back asleep. But I didn't tell her what I felt, that something had been watching me through the glass. Something patient, something hungry. A few months later, my dad invited his old college buddy, Rick, and his wife over for dinner. They were laughing over bourbon in the kitchen while I brushed my teeth, trying to calm my nerves. My room was directly across the hall, so I told myself I'd be fine. I shut the door, but left it cracked just an inch, enough to see the warm yellow light from the kitchen spilling into the hallway. I crawled under the covers, clutching my stuffed dog like a talisman. And then there it was again, the sound, louder, closer, not from the balcony this time, but from inside the room. I bolted upright, scrambled out of bed, and sprinted to the kitchen, tears streaming down my face. Rick, big, bearded, the kind of guy who fixed carburetors for fun, laughed gently and said, "All right, champ, let's go check it out together." He walked me back, flipping on the overhead light. My room looked perfectly normal. Toys in the corner, glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, my bed neatly made from my mom's earlier tuck-in. "See?" he said. "Nothing here." I shook my head, trembling. "She's out there," I whispered, pointing to the balcony. Rick gave me that look adults give kids who say things they don't want to believe. But he humored me. "Okay, then you look. I'll stand right behind you." Couldn't. My legs turned to stone. My eyes squeezed shut. But even with them closed, I felt her. Not just watching, but leaning toward me like she was studying how thin my skin was, how easy it would be to peel it back. "Dan, there's no one," Rick said, stepping out onto the balcony himself. "Just wet wood and a dying hydrangea." He left me alone again. That night, I grabbed my father's heavy Maglite flashlight, the kind with 3D batteries and a beam that could cut through fog. When my parents yelled at me to turn off the light, I clicked it off, but kept it clutched in my fist like a weapon. I sat in the doorway, legs pulled to my chest, scanning every inch of the room. And then movement, not on the floor, not under the bed, on top of the wardrobe. She was crouched there like a spider folded in on itself, limbs bent at angles no human body could manage. Her skin wasn't pale, it was wrong, bluish gray, like drowned meat left too long in the sun, mottled with patches of something darker, almost fungal. Her fingers, too many of them, curled over the edge of the furniture, twitching like antennae. Her face, God, her face, long too long, like a horse's skull stretched thin over something older. And her eyes, two enormous, luminous yellow orbs with vertical slits, fixed on me with terrifying focus. Her mouth was a black slash, pulled back into a grin that showed no teeth, just endless depth, as if her throat opened into another world. And then the smell hit me, thick, sweet, rotten, like meat left in a sealed jar for weeks. I gagged, bile rising in my throat. My vision blurred. I dropped the flashlight. It clattered, the beam spinning wildly, catching her silhouette for one horrifying second before I slammed the door and ran. I hid under the kitchen table for 3 hours, shaking until my mom found me at 2 a.m. I couldn't speak, couldn't explain. All I could do was point toward my room and whisper, "Don't go in there." My parents split up 6 months later. Mom took me to live with my aunt in Spokane. I never saw that apartment again. I told myself it was over, that the hush had been a nightmare I'd outgrown, some twisted product of childhood anxiety and too many late-night horror comics. For 16 years, it worked. Then, at 22, my dad called. He was moving in with his fiancée to a condo in Bend, the old place on Hawthorne. He offered it to me for cheap. "It's been redone," he said. "New floors, fresh paint, updated kitchen. Practically a new apartment." I jumped at the chance. My own place in Portland, rent-controlled, felt like fate. The first week was perfect. Sunlight through clean windows, quiet neighbors. I even bought a new bed and set up my laptop in what used to be my room, now painted a calming sage green with new blinds and a soft rug. I told myself I was reclaiming it, healing. But then the lights started dying, not just burning out, exploding. One moment the kitchen would be bright. The next, a sharp pop and darkness. I replaced bulbs, checked wiring, even called an electrician. "Everything's fine," he said, shrugging. "Must be cheap filaments." Then came the bathroom. I'd wake to find a thick, yellowish sludge smeared near the base of the toilet. Not water, not mold, something organic. It smelled like copper and spoiled milk. I scrubbed it away twice, 3 times a day, but it always returned, sometimes in new places. Behind the mirror, inside the shower drain, once pooled beneath the sink like someone had thrown up and vanished. And the nights got worse. I started waking to the sound of shifting weight on the mattress, like someone had just gotten up. I'd sit bolt upright, heart hammering, scanning the dark. Nothing there, but the sheets would be rumpled on the other side of the bed. Then came the scratching, faint at first, like dry nails on drywall. From behind the door of the small bedroom, the one I'd sworn never to use again. I locked it, taped the seam with duct tape, pushed a bookshelf against it, but the scratching didn't stop. It moved. Now it comes from behind my bedroom door, even though I'm inside, and it's closed. A slow, rhythmic scritch, 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 like something dragging long fingers down the wood. I don't sleep much anymore. I've taken to keeping every light on. I've nailed a mirror to the ceiling above my bed so I can watch the door. I've scattered salt along the windowsill. Ridiculous, I know, but I read somewhere it wards off spirits. I even bought a voice recorder hoping to capture something concrete. All I've gotten is static and, once, a whisper so soft I almost missed it. Almost time. I don't know what that means, but I know this. The hush never left. She waited, and now that I'm back, she's waking up. Last night, I dreamt I was 6 again, standing in front of the balcony doors. The glass was fogged, but this time, a handprint appeared, small, child-sized, smeared with something dark and wet. And from the other side, a voice that wasn't a voice, more like wind through dead leaves. You came home. I woke up to the sound of my bedroom doorknob turning. Slowly, quietly. It didn't open. Not all the way, but I heard the click, and I haven't moved since.